The Shadow is fucking awesome. The 90s were a glorious and crazy underrated time for superhero movies. I mean, nowadays superhero flicks are so common and huge that I'm bored even by the very best ones and extremely confused or disappointed by all the others. But back in the 90s, studios didn't know what the hell they had or what they could do, so they took more chances and more risks, even willing to, shockingly, have fun and be creative. Not too many mopey mans back then. Sure, stuff like The Rocketeer, The Phantom, Dick Tracy, The Mask, and The Shadow were all flawed movies that don't come close to stuff like Dark Knight and Avengers in terms of intelligence or quality. But for me, they're a hell of a lot more fun than 3/4 of comic book flicks today. And The Shadow is one of my faves of the bunch.
What are you doing?
Alec Baldwin's the lead hero because, why the hell not? It was 1994, remember? It opens with the hero actually being a villain, which is kind of a neat idea. It's not ever really explored or even brought up again, but that's okay, because clean-shaven Baldwin is much more pleasant than Asian hobo Baldwin.
You're not going to appoint a task force.
No, hell with it. I'm not going to appoint a task force.
You're not going to pay any attention to these reports of the Shadow.
Ignore them entirely.
There is no Shadow.
Well, there is no Shadow. If there were, I'd be Eleanor Roosevelt.
He trains with a horrible CGI Snake Dagger because the 90s, and then we get some awesome thematic orchestral music by Jerry Goldsmith because the 90s. And then we cut to the 30s because it was the 90s and movies could be set in times that weren't the fucking 90s.
Duke, I think you got him.
You're damn right I...
The Shadow's main power is essentially being super badass, with some invisibility powers and the absolute not giving him any shits when it comes to gunning down the bad guys. For some reason, the creators added prosthetics to Baldwin's face when he undergoes the Shadow transformation. I mean, maybe it was to make him look more menacing or to resemble the old serials, but I don't know, it's pretty distracting in this one. Peter Boyle is basically this guy's Robin and Alfred combined, driving him around from mission to mission. I like that the whole city has its secret agents all over the place, leading to one of the movie's most epic scenes when a message gets sent to the Shadow. Of course, no old-fashioned superhero flick can exist without two more things, the love interest and the main supervillain. Admittedly, neither are among the movie's strong suits. Penelope Ann Miller is terribly miscast as the femme fatale, who isn't drop-dead gorgeous enough to pull off the attitude and certainly isn't sultry or dangerous enough to pull off the mystery.
Hot and cool at the same time. It was wonderful. What was yours?
I dreamed I tore all the skin off my face and was somebody else underneath.
You have problems.
I'm aware of that.
John Lone plays Shawan Khan, who essentially has the same power as the Shadow and is like the reincarnation of Genghis Khan or something. I don't know. I tend to kind of phase out whenever he's on screen. Unlike, say, a Batman film, which is clearly and desperately wants to be, the bad guys aren't personable enough to make much of an impression. Instead, it's the hero that looks and acts the most freaking cool. The plot is standard stuff for this kind of picture, with Ian McKellen of all people playing a goofy scientist that creates an atom bomb that Khan needs to take over the world, and of course it's up to the Shadow to save the day. But I don't return on this movie to get sucked into its rather lame story. I like getting immersed in the environments, the cool action that actually makes the hero invisible still creates tension and excitement somehow, and the nifty scenes where Baldwin clouds people's minds or even has his own mind clouded so much that an entire building can be rendered invisible.
I can't believe he did it.
Did what? Lamont?
My God.
It's this kind of cheesy goodness that I miss in the gloomy, mopey comic book flicks of today. Nowadays, we really only have two choices: dark DC movies that aren't any fun, or light, breezy Marvel movies that have absolutely no tension or originality in the visuals. The Shadow harkens back to a time where a movie could live in both worlds: pure silliness for the kids, but still the mean streak and dark gothic violence for everyone else.
I'm right here. All around you. Everywhere around you.
Overall, The Shadow is a very flawed but also an enjoyable hidden gem. I give it 3.5 fries out of 5. Check her out again, you might be surprised.
I'll see you later.
Hey, how will you know where I am?
I'll know. The sun is shining.
But the ice is slippery.